the political love child of Ayn Rand and Ronald Reagan. He's Andrew Wilkow, and you're listening to the Wilkow Majority.
All right, WilkowMajority.com is the official website, and I'm not bragging because, look, coffee mugs are not, when you think in the grand scheme of supply and demand, no matter how much I brag that they're selling, there will always be more. It's not like, QVC, like there's some countdown, like this is the last one. But I am proud of the fact that Capitalism is Boss has caught on as both a bumper sticker and a coffee mug. And, of course, Capitalism is Boss, the product of this program. We created that phrase on this program, and I'm proud to say that it's selling greatly. 1-866-957-2874, 95 Patriot. Now, at the start of the Obama administration, the Department of Homeland Security issued a watch list or things that would qualify someone to be on a watch list, like, being a returning veteran, being pro-life, having a T-shirt that says, "Don't tread on me," and oddly enough, a bumper sticker supporting a sitting United States congressman who ran for president, Ron Paul. Joining us on the program right now is Rand Paul, Ron Paul's son. Hello, sir.
Good to be with you. I wonder what kind of watch list you're on if you have a Ron Paul bumper sticker and a Rand Paul bumper sticker.
I have no idea. You might get pulled over in some states. The California Highway Patrol might stop you and cite you for that. So how you doing?
Yeah.
You and I have never spoken. Your father's been on this program a number of times, and it's funny that you have people that will call up and say, Ron Paul. And then I asked your dad about this. I said, I get people who call up and say, you're a phony, you're a fraud, Ron Paul, and he'll say, I don't know why people do that. He's like, I don't encourage that. That his candidacy took on a sort of life of its own, even away from some of the things that your father spoke about. Do you find that happening to you?
Yeah, it's amazing what kind of movement this has spawned. And one of the amazing things is that I'll show up at a meeting in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and a working class guy will ask me a question on the Federal Reserve. I mean, people are really interested in the Federal Reserve. They see it as something that is stealing the value of their paycheck, and they really understand it. And more so than you would think. You would think the Federal Reserve's kind of esoteric, but I think there are times in our history as we pay for this massive debt through devaluing the dollar and through monetization that you get to a point where people are concerned that we could actually destroy the value of the currency.
I want to talk all about your candidacy and all about your thoughts and beliefs, and the website is at randpaul2010.com. I've never spoken to your father about this, so I'll ask you, do you think the upshoot, the record price for an ounce of gold, and also the record price for an ounce of silver proves that people are moving away from things like investing in manufacturing because of cap and trade? They're moving away from investment in companies like General Motors because of the takeover. They're afraid of what the unions will do if they get more power, that they are buying things that are hard and that they can hold.
Yes, and I think it kind of goes back to what you said about your coffee mug earlier. It's China and India are asking, who is John Galt and does he live in America anymore? And they're afraid and they're fearful of what's going on. And when you have fear goes and drives commodities up. And I think people are fearful about our currency. I tell people in my speeches that there's a Chinese floor under gold. Now it's sort of a Chinese/Indian floor. Every time gold goes down at all, they buy more. And interestingly, sometimes India snatched up 200 million ounces, and the price of gold still went up. Because it used to be the central banks would sell gold, and they'd temporarily depress the price of gold for a day or two. Now they're selling gold, and the price is going up. So there is some fear out there, and there is uncertainty, and people go to gold, real estate, they go to things that can hold at their value.
You say esoteric, and that's one of my favorite words, by the way. Do you think most people think that taxation only comes in the form of an income tax, that the government can't tax you by making your dollars that you have in your bank account or in your wallet worth less through inflation?
Well, I think that people do understand it, and I tell people it's the way I'm going to win when I get past the Republican primary and I'm talking to a general audience that has independents and Democrats. I'm going to tell them that big government gives you big debt, debt leads to inflation, and that's higher prices, and the people that it hurts the worst are the working class, those on fixed income. So, yeah, inflation is a tax, but it's a tax directly placed on the people least able to afford it, and it's because that's the way we finance government is through inflation of the currency.
Now, when you watch from the outside and you watch Barack Obama talk about this job summit, and you hear people like Valerie Jarrett say, "Well, we're going to retool the workforce, and we're gonna surround ourselves." None of these people, the AFL-CIO, economic writers, Keynesians like Paul Krugman, none of these academics, none of these people have ever created a job in their life. How do we expect to see jobs return to the United States if the government is threatening to raise taxes, threatening capital gains increases, threatening cap and trade, threatening to give more power to people like John Sweeney and groups like the SEIU? How on earth do they plan to bring jobs back when a job is, and tell me if I'm right or wrong here, a job is a task to be performed coupled with the demand for labor?
Yeah, my question would be, if you get 1,000 community organizers together at a job summit, are they going to know anything about creating jobs? Of course, you've got to have the right people talking about it, and they have to have the right ideas. But the government doesn't create any jobs. All the government does is take wealth from one group and give to another. But we don't even just do that. It's not just redistribution of wealth. We're having to borrow to pay for all these things. I tell people that I see our country kind of like the latter days of the Roman Empire when the emperors placated the mob by giving them bread and circus. Now we give our people cash for clunkers and stimulus checks, and we tell them, go to the mall. Just go to the mall and everything will be okay. And I think most people see through that. Even I have older patients who come in to see me in the office, and they realize how ridiculous it is to give them a $250 check that we borrowed from the Chinese and say, go to the mall and everything will be okay. It's a ludicrous economic notion that that's going to allow a recovery in our economy.
Rand Paul 2010 is the website, randpaul2010.com. We're talking to Rand Paul, who's running for Senate in the state of Kentucky. Their belief, and I think this is a wrong-headed belief, and maybe you can address this, the idea that the government can support demand to sell off supply, that is the most ridiculous thing because they're borrowing money to support demand, which means they have to repay it.
Yeah, and the thing is that real wealth comes through hard work and savings. And I like to put it in personal terms that people who have paid off their house slowly and gradually over 30 years, they understand that that's how they accumulated wealth. But you don't accumulate wealth by simply either borrowing it or printing it. And I think people understand that, particularly if we can get spokesmen who run for office who will articulate the message. I think our problem as Republicans has not been that we don't have a good message, it's that we don't articulate it well. I think we can bring the working class to us. I think we can bring senior citizens to us, not by diluting the message or not by saying, oh, I'll bring you some pork barrel spending, but by telling people that capitalism provides the greatest wealth to the greatest amount of people, that capitalism is a humanitarian system, the most humanitarian system ever known to man. And I think we get people on our side if we can just articulate our ideas well.
Well, the problem is you got to separate the working class from the labor movement. If you've got somebody that's fallen for the line of the labor movement, they have on one side someone like you talking about capitalism and growth and savings and the freedom of economics. And then you've got a politician who says, join with me and I will force your boss to give you more money. It's almost impossible. When you think about the short-sighted view of, well, as Nancy Pelosi said, let's give Americans a pay raise. It's very hard to combat that with a frank discussion of long-term economics.
Yeah, it's sort of like the idea of running against Santa Claus. And Christmas is coming up, and I'm going to be at a Christmas dinner tomorrow night, a Republican event in Northern Kentucky, and that's going to be the theme of my message. Is that remember the old editorial, Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. The title of my speech will be "No, Kentucky, There Is No Santa Claus." But the real question is can you run against Santa Claus, run against